Good day, folks. This is tutorial number 33 in the Kinematics scenario playlist, and it's designed to support the 3D Experiences CATIA platform. Now, what I would like to discuss in this tutorial is the issue of the Dressup or the Dressup functionality that is inherited from CATIA, and show you how you can access it in the 3D experience and what does it do. Okay. So first of all, the dress up is used for the DMU kinematics in the old CATIA program, and in the new CATIA program, of course, which is buried inside of the 3D experience platform, is in the mechanical systems design application. So once you create your assembly, then you go into mechanical systems design, and if you select this tab, you see that there's over here, there's a mechanism manager, and there's the dress up icon. Okay, so essentially what it does is that if you have a mechanism and there are some parts that you would like to attach them to the mechanism that you have as a rigid body, the quick way of doing it is through this dress up. I'll explain that in the context of that example that you see in a minute. So suppose I have a situation like that. Now, this is made of several pieces. There is the stationary base, moving block right here, orange one, the propeller, we have a fastener, we have a disc, a wedge, and a cone. What I like to do is to create a mechanism which looks like that. This arm is mounted on that moving block so that it's going to be a revolute joint, and the moving block, this orange one, can slide along this line. This is a prismatic joint, and over here, that disc that I showed you is going to be a revolute joint here. Now, so essentially you want this. But what I want to do is to, as a dress up feature, put this wedge on that edge. It doesn't even have to be on that edge. I want to attach as a dress up feature this wedge, blue wedge, to this prismatic joint. So as the joint moves, as the block moves, this joint, this wedge also moves with it. So if you look at this setup down here, as the block moves, this wedge is going to move with it as a rigid body. This fastener, I want it to be going as a rigid joint on top of this arm. So it's really not creating new joints, although it is a rigid joint, but a quick way of making sure that this blue wedge moves with that orange block. This fastener goes on top of this, okay? And this cone that you see here, as this revolute joint turns, this cone revolves along the axis of this disc. Okay, well, you'll see that. Okay. Now notice that when we try to do that, we get the option, a dialog box like that, which tells us what is it that you want to essentially make it rigidly attached to another part. So you're gonna see this later on, and of course, notice that in that particular problem, 5 rigid joints have been automatically created. 2 of them are associated with the prismatic one. One of them is a prismatic, the other one, that fastener, goes with the revolute one. And the other rigid joint down here, the dress up feature, is attached to this disc. So this is the problem that we're going to be doing. Incidentally, when you do that, the tree will look like that. So you have your main joints, you have the dress up features, you can see that. that blue wedge, and then the green fastener, and the green cone, light green cone. And here's the help menu in 3D Experience. And if you want, you can consult that tutorial. So I've created the parts here. Dimensions don't matter. I've created the parts. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my joints. Notice that I'm in the assembly design. So first thing I'm going to do is to fix this stationary base. So let me go to engineering connection. Here is the fix. Select the stationary connection. Notice that this is fixed. This is fixed. Now let's create our prismatic joint. So let's go to the prismatic joint. I want this edge. Wait for the template to show up. I'll use this template. Axis, plane, and to control plane. So this axis and that axis. This plane and that plane. Okay. And for controlling it, this end plane and that end plane. Now notice that here, what I have is distance of 0.07, but I want to move this thing so that it, oops. Let me make this thing minus 0.07. There. Okay, fine. Let me close that. All right. Let's go ahead and create our Revolute joint. So we go here to Revolute. Where is it? Revolute. I'll use the fourth one. Edge, or axis, plane. And then the two vertical planes to control the joint. So this is the fourth one I'm using. So I want this edge, this axis, and that axis, this plane, and that plane. Okay, and for controlling the angle, I'll use a vertical plane of this arm. So for example, prop, here's the prop vertical plane, any vertical plane. So for example, I can use YZ. If you show it, you see that it's this vertical plane. And for the other plane, I can use whatever this, I can use this. That's fine. And say okay. All right. Now, let's create this Revolute joint. By the way, before I go any further, I want to bring that guy, this wedge, and put it on that. It's not necessary. I can do this problem where as this block moves, this wedge moves along with it as a rigid body. But I insist to put this wedge on that edge. So let me see now. I can use, for example, I don't need the constraint. I can use the snap. I can use this edge and that edge to be snapping to each other. Good. So as the block moves, this moves with it. Even if I had left it there, it would have done the same thing if I create my Dressup with this guy. All right. Oh, how about doing this one? Another snap. I'm going to use the axis of this and the axis of that. Okay. And if you're happy with the plane, you can leave it the way it is. If you're not happy, you can use this plane and that plane. Let's just actually do that. Another snap between this plane and that plane. Okay, good. Basically, you move things around in a smart way without creating constraints. Let me hide this plane. I don't need it. Very good. Now let's do our other Revolute joint. So here's a Revolute. Once again, I use the same thing, the same template. So I'm going to use this axis and that axis. Now notice that the other one moved because I selected that one first. If it's bothering you, you can select this one. Okay. When you update, it goes back to the original position because it was fixed, right? But that's okay. For plane, I use this plane and that plane. And for the controlling it, for controlling, notice that because of the way I made my first selection, it looks like this yellow piece is moving, but it's not. After I update, they go back to where it is. And for planes, I use, for example, this plane and a vertical plane of this disk. So a vertical plane, for example, I don't know, YZ, that's fine, or XZ, it's fine. And then we say, okay, no, and notice that if I update, everything goes back to where it was. Don't let this thing bother you because the yellow one moved. You might say, oh, why did it move? It was fixed. That's because of the selection, but because there are constraints there, when I update, they go back to where they belong. Now, I'm not going to even bother moving this thing. I'll just leave it the way it is. What I will show you is that as this this turns, this cone turns with it because it's going to be one of the dress up features that I'm going to use. Good, good. So that's good. Now we're done here. We're going to go to mechanical systems design. Mechanical systems design app, which is right here. And notice that what I'm getting now is to this interface. And you want mechanical systems design tab. We are there. Mechanical system design tab. Let's create our mechanism. See that? Mechanism representation. Just leave it the way it is as far as the default goes. Look at what's in it. So click on that. We have one fix, one prismatic, one revolute, and one revolute. Now, let's try it. Let's see if it's working. So if you click on the mechanism player, I'm going to get 3 sliding bars because there are 3 degrees of freedom. Okay, for example, this one moves the block. Reset. This one turns the prop. And this one is for the fellow down here, the revolute over there. See that? Oh, this is not moving. I don't like it. That's probably because the plane that I picked was not good. So let me go ahead here. Let me go this revolute. What am I using? Planes. Let me use the, let me see now. Let me check something here. Okay, maybe that plane I'm going to change. I'm going to remove that. Clear selection. Okay, so I use that plane and the plane of the disk, right? Where is the disk? This is the disk. Let me use, which one is that? Hide and show. Yeah, yeah. I picked the wrong plane. That's good. Notice that, say okay. Now when we try to do that, yeah, it's good. See that? I picked the wrong plane there, no problem. Look at what I've done. Prismatic, revolute. Let me update. Yep. Prismatic, revolute, revolute. I haven't done anything about that dress up thingy. So now you're going to go to this pull up menu. Instead of mechanism manager, you choose dress up. So here, dress up. And what we're getting is that slide. Okay, so let's see what it says. All right, so if you look at the bottom left corner, it says select a mechanism or a product. Select a mechanism or a product of selected mechanism. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this moving block right there, moving block. and it says, what do you want to add to it? Basically, where is that part that you want to be a dress up of this? So I select the wedge. Notice that the wedge is selected. Then I'm going to select the prop. It says, well, what do you want to be the dress up for this prop? I select this fastener. And finally, this disc, what do I want to be attached to that? Is this cone. And then I say, okay. So first of all, look at what happened. If you go back to that mechanism manager, you see that these have been added. Okay. And then we say, okay. And let's go ahead and use the player, mechanism player. Watch what happens. Move this thing out of the way. Let me first move this first sliding bar, which is the block. As that will move, the wedge will move with it. You see that? So essentially, you have a rigid connection, rigid joint between that moving block and that wedge. If you look at this fellow, this is for the arm or the prop. As you can turn it, and notice that fastener, if you zoom in, you can see what happened. If you zoom in, look at this vertical line, that fastener is also turning. Okay? And finally, this last bar, as you move the sliding bar, this disc revolves and that cones go with it in space. You see that? Maybe I zoom out so you can see it better. Reset. So that is the reason that we use Dressup functionality. It's a quick way of creating rigid joints between some parts of our structure that we want to be associated as a dress-up feature to the joints of our mechanism. All right, folks, that's pretty much it. If you are a CATIA user, you may already know this. If you're a CATIA user and you have used the DMU kinematics, you probably know this. But anyway, it shows you, at least I tried to show you in this video, where things are when it comes to 3D experience. All right, good luck.